All right, guys, so my name is Pavel, and today we're going to be talking about wallets. First, we're going to go over what a wallet is exactly. Then we're going to touch on what you can do with a wallet, and we're also going to compare the different types of wallets and some of the best practices for them, including mobile and desktop, hardware, and paper wallets as well. So what is a wallet? Traditionally, we think of wallets as a place to store value like cash. In Bitcoin, it works a little bit differently. Bitcoin wallets give you access, but they don't actually store your Bitcoin. Instead, maybe think about Bitcoin as a series of lockboxes. Each lockbox has a private key that gives spending access. If you have a key or the copy of the key, you can spend that Bitcoin. Value gets moved via Bitcoin's network from lockbox to lockbox. A wallet is a place to store your keys and sometimes interact with the Bitcoin network, such as signing a transaction to be able to spend. And wallets could be recreated with the same keys. So if you lose your wallet, that means you could recover your Bitcoin in some cases. The keys are the key. So what are some things that you should consider with your keys? You want to store them safely. You want to think about creating copies of them in case you lose one set. And also we'll touch on multi-key systems or multi-signatures. You should also consider what your wallet can do with your set of keys. What permissions are you giving to that wallet? And who ultimately possesses your keys? So in terms of storing and copying, your key or your private key is basically a 256-bit number. It's expressed in different ways, one of which is this long string of alphanumeric characters. A common one that you're probably more familiar with are seed words, which are usually about 12 or more words. And using some math, these words could be could create the long string there. So storing securely is a priority. You have to think about the location of where you store it and whether you want to take extra precautions such as encrypting that private key. Basically, is your private key safe from prying eyes? And if you store your private key on the cloud, is it safe from hackers or malware? Will it be safe in an old hard drive or even in a physical safe? So what else can you do? Multi-signature or multi-key is basically when two or more parties with their own unique sets of keys to one lockbox create that lockbox. So to spend Bitcoin in that lockbox, you need certain rules to be satisfied. So you can set up these rules on your own. For example, a 2 of 3 rule is where 3 people have a unique set of keys, and you need any 2 of them to be able to spend that Bitcoin. A lot of people will create a multi-sig or multi-signature wallet using Electrum. There's fairly detailed guides on how to do that online as well if you're interested in learning more about that. Some considerations for each wallet. So who controls the keys? Where are the actual keys? Is there a copy on a device? Do those keys stay there online? Are they transmitted to some server? Are they easily accessible? What does the software actually do with the keys? What kind of permissions does it have? Really what you're thinking about is what is preventing someone from using those keys on a device and taking your Bitcoin? You also want to think about, is that wallet that you're using open source? Have people gone through the code and audited it? Is someone actually tracking the updates and changes? Just because a wallet is audited today or reliable today doesn't mean that in the future there can't be an update that injects malicious code into the software that steals your keys, for example. So the common types of key storage, I separated this into 2 different categories. The first is a software interface with key storage. So most mobile wallets, desktop wallets, and hardware devices will fall under this category. Also custodial services and exchanges, so most exchanges and web wallets will fall under this, but with one important difference is that in that case someone else actually owns and controls your keys. And also wallets such as paper wallets and brain wallets are just key storage only, and you still need to import them into a piece of software to be able to spend Bitcoin. So first, let's go over mobile wallets. Basically, it's just an app that runs on your phone. The pros of that, it's fairly easy to use. It's quick for payments. It's really convenient for traveling or for paying. Like if you go to the coffee shop, you just whip out your phone and scan a QR code. And there's definitely lots of options to be able to suit your needs. On the con side, they're not very secure. There's a lot of attack vectors. If you think about a phone, and there's a number of different ways that someone could gain access to your phone and to your private keys. It could take as little as having some random app you downloaded and forgot about, and that app having an automatic update which allows someone to get into your phone. So it's hard to audit those constantly and keep up and make sure that whatever wallet you're using is secure. Also, if you lose your phone, it could give someone access to your keys, especially if you have weak pins on both your phone and your mobile wallet. And some apps can be misleading. They might actually be custodial, so they might actually give someone complete access to your keys. Some popular examples of mobile wallets down here, you have Green Address, you have Mycelium, Samurai, Bitcoin Lightning Wallet, Eclair, and Electrum. This right here is Eclair, picture of the interface. Now, desktop wallets is just software that runs on a computer operating system. Could be Windows, it could be Linux, it could be Mac OS. The pros is that you have more control and options for your wallet and your funds, and they can be run from a more secure setup. If you run it, on Linux or on Tails, which we'll have a talk about that next month. On the con side, the security really varies on what you do with your setup. So secure setups require a lot more configuration steps, precautions to make sure that your private keys aren't exposed. And also, if you just download a desktop wallet to Windows, well, if you have malware, viruses on that computer, then you're potentially at danger. And also in the future, if you download viruses or get malware, it's also a risk. It's also not very convenient to pay with QR code. Like if you're going to a coffee shop, you can't really pay with a desktop. Like maybe if you have a laptop, you can go and scan it, but it's not the best. Some popular desktop wallets have Wasabi, Electrum, the Bitcoin Core software, and also Armory. That right there is just a Bitcoin Core software interface. So custodial services include web wallets, a lot of exchanges, and even some mobile wallets. The pros is that if you're really lazy, like the wallet's created for you, the key management is done by someone else, and someone else is managing your risk of backing up your funds or your keys. Like it's entirely on some other third party. Obviously, on the con side, it brings with it a really high likelihood of losing your funds. It has a really poor historical track record of fraud and theft. The biggest recent example would be Quadriga. If you left money on exchange, well, they have the keys to those funds. If something happens to that company, then that Bitcoin is gone. You're not getting it back. You essentially have to trust whoever you're leaving your Bitcoin with, that they aren't going to do something with it. Basically, the saying goes, not your keys, not your coins. So most exchanges and web wallets are custodial. And generally speaking, we don't recommend using custodial services, or at least not leaving your money on an exchange longer than you have to. And then there's hardware devices, which are separate devices that hold the keys. And usually you would eventually have to connect them either via USB or through an SD card to a computer to be able to broadcast to the network your transaction. On the pro side, they're generally a lot more secure than mobile and desktop wallets. And when you're using your keys, aka signing, it can be done offline and then transferred to an online device for broadcast. So in that sense, your keys aren't always exposed to the internet and the dangers that lay there. On the con side, it starts off with a price tag. They aren't free. A lot of them start off at $100 plus. Also, the devices aren't perfect. They do have attack vectors. Some examples would be a supply chain swap or attack, meaning if you order this device online, are you getting a real one? Are you getting a fake one? And even if you are getting a real one, from the time that it gets shipped out from the company to the time it gets to you, someone could intercept that mail and swap out the device or modify the device to be able to steal your keys, basically. So there's always that risk with hardware devices. And if someone physically gets your device, there have been cases where people have been able to extract the keys from a hardware wallet as well, using some advanced techniques with like electronics. So it's not completely safe, although it generally is a lot better than a mobile or a desktop wallet. Some examples being Ledger, a Trezor, a KeepKey, Cold Card, and a Bitbox. Trezor right there. And then finally we have paper or brain wallets. In this case, you're just generating the keys. On the pro side, if you do this properly, it could be very secure. Your keys are not in contact with the internet after you've generated them generally. And brain wallets would be difficult to seize. So what I mean by brain wallet is just memorizing those seed words. So say 12 words, you memorize them. And then obviously it's very difficult for someone to find those out unless you tell them. On the con side, it's only as secure as you make it. So location is vital. Where you store these keys and in what method is important. And when you actually generate them, like when you actually create paper wallets, it has to be done securely. Like if you go to a random website, well, are you trusting that website that they're not also copying your keys when you generate a wallet? Let's go. So loss of backups from memory is basically the loss of access to your coins. So if you only created one copy of a paper wallet and you lose that copy, well, you're not going to be able to access your coins again. And in terms of examples, bitcoinpaperwallet.com and BitAddress are two websites which you can generate paper wallets from. The point I wanted to make earlier was that you don't necessarily have to do this online. Some of these offer software that you can download and then take offline, do it to a secure computer to generate the actual paper wallet. So you don't necessarily have to go to a website to be able to do this. You can also generate just the basic seed words in a lot of wallets, including Electrum and Bitcoin Core. And trade-offs generally is one between convenience and security. So this is just kind of my opinion of things. Everyone is going to have these in different places. But in most cases, the more money that you have that you're risking, the more steps or precautions you want to take to be able to secure that. I mean, if you have $50, maybe that's okay on a mobile wallet. You're just kind of walking about, buying coffees, whatever. It's not a big deal if you lose that. But let's say if you have $5,000, well, then maybe you want to start thinking about either getting a hardware wallet or thinking about creating a paper wallet securely. All right, any questions?